Let's dive into the Change the World quadrant on the Archetypes wheel and how they affect brands. You know these brands when you see them. They're the ones that make you feel capable, that challenge you, that refuse to accept mediocrity. Nike, Patagonia, Tesla, Red Bull. These aren't just companies. They're psychological forces that meet people at a very specific moment in their journey. But here's what most people miss. The change quadrant isn't about disruption for disruption's sake. It's counterbalance. It's the answer to a specific kind of emptiness. And understanding what that emptiness is, that's where the real strategy lives. Let me start with a truth from self-determination theory, one of the most well-researched frameworks in psychology. Human beings have three core psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When any of these needs get suppressed, we don't just notice it cognitively, we feel it viscerally. We become restless, frustrated, and hungry for something that restores what's missing. The change quadrant, which houses the hero, the magician, and the rebel archetypes, exists specifically to serve people who are experiencing a deficit in autonomy and agency. These are your patrons who feel suffocated by conformity, who are exhausted by monotony, who have been controlled, contained, or told to stay small for too long. Think about it this way. When someone has abundance and stability, or in belonging, or in comfort, what are they lacking? Movement, possibility, the permission to grow. They don't need more safety. They need momentum. They need more approval. They need challenge. This is compensatory consumer behavior in action. Research shows that when people feel restricted or powerless, they gravitate toward brands that signal strength, disruption, and transformation. The change quadrant delivers exactly that. It counterbalances the emotional weight of rigid structure by offering movement. It counterbalances the isolation of introspection by offering collective action. It counterbalances the safety of belonging by reigniting ambition and individuality. So when a patron is anemic in autonomy, capability, or forward momentum, the change quadrant is the transfusion. Now here's where it gets interesting. The change quadrant contains three archetypes: hero, magician, and rebel. They all deliver transformation, but they do it through completely different psychological mechanisms. And this matters, because if you understand the mechanism, you misalign the brand. If you misunderstand the mechanism, you'll misalign the brand. The hero transforms through discipline and earned capability. This isn't fluffy motivational stuff. The hero archetype is rooted in Joseph Campbell's work on the monomyth, the journey where you receive a call, resist it, accept it, struggle through trials, and come out transformed. The hero doesn't promise shortcuts. It promises that the struggle is well worth it, that you will become stronger on the other side. When patrons feel weak, uncertain, or unprepared, they need the hero. The hero says you are capable of more than you think, but you have to do the work. Brands like Nike and CrossFit thrive here. They meet people who are ready to confront adversity, and they give them the framework to win. The magician transforms through insight and reframing. While the hero conquers through effort, the magician changes reality by changing perception. This is rooted in cognitive psychology, the idea that our experience of the world is determined by the mental models we use to interpret it. Change the frame, and you change the reaction. Change the reaction, and you change the behavior. When patrons feel stuck, limited, or trapped by old thinking, they need the magician, because the magician says, there's a way you haven't seen yet. And once you see it, everything shifts. Brands like Red Bull and Spanx operate here. They don't just sell products. They sell the transformation of what you believe is possible. The rebel transforms through disruption and liberation. Rebellion isn't chaos. It's a psychological correction. Reactance theory tells us that when people perceive their freedom as threatened, they experience a motivational surge to restore it. The rebel channels that energy into purposeful defiance. It identifies broken systems, outdated norms, unjust constraints, and it refuses to comply. When patrons feel oppressed, ignored, or constrained by the status quo, they need the rebel. Because the rebel says, this system doesn't serve you and you don't owe it obedience. Brands like Patagonia, Harley-Davidson, and Liquid Death embody this. They don't polish the existing structure, they challenge it. So let's be explicit about what the change quadrant actually delivers to your audience or patrons. First, it restores autonomy. When people have been told what to do, how to be, where to fit, change brands give them permission to take control back. They reignite the sense that I decide, I move, I act. Second, capability and confidence. Change brands don't coddle. They elevate. They make people feel more competent, more powerful, more equipped to face what's ahead. This is especially important in categories where patrons feel overwhelmed or underprepared. Third, momentum and possibility. For people who have stagnated, who've been in the same place for too long, doing the same thing, feeling the same way, change brands all open the aperture. They say, there is more available to you. Let's go get it. And fourth, identity reclamation. This is the deepest one. Change brands don't just help people do something different. They help people become someone different. The hero makes you braver. The magician makes you sharper. The rebel makes you freer. These archetypes allow patrons to step into a version of themselves they've been holding back. So here's the takeaway for brand builders. You can't choose the change quadrant just because it feels bold or exciting. You choose it because your patron has been suppressed, constrained, or stuck, and they need liberation, capability, or transformation to move forward. If your patron is already abundant in autonomy, already confident, already in motion, change brands will feel performative. They'll feel like noise. They'll feel like exploitation because the patron doesn't need what you're offering. But if your patron, if your audience is living under excessive control, drowning in conformity, exhausted by monotony, then change isn't just a positioning strategy, it's a lifeline. And once you commit to change, you have to choose your method. Are you the hero who guides them through struggle? The magician who reframes their reality? Or the rebel who liberates them from the system that's been holding them back? That choice determines everything. How you behave, how you communicate, what you build, and who you become. The change quadrant isn't for everyone. It's not for every brand. But for the patrons and their audiences who are ready to break through, rise up, and reclaim their agency, it's everything. Because transformation isn't a nice to have. It's the answer to a very real, very human need. Brands that understand this don't just occupy space in a category, they occupy space in people's lives. And that's the difference between a brand and a force. Hopefully this made sense. Thanks for listening. I would love to understand how your perceptions of the change quadrant and the archetypes in it, how you've been leveraging that for brand strategy as well. If some of this is a bit confusing or you're not quite getting it, please pick up my book, Mass Behaving. It's all about unlocking the power of branding with archetypes and how to use them correctly by shedding off the misconceptions and really adopting their power. And of course, I have that brand archetypes card deck, which will help you sort through these in a workshop style and just really absorb the power of archetypes in general. Hopefully you get a lot of value out of both of them. As always, do follow me. Please follow the Substack as well as the other channels where this is posted like YouTube and Spotify. And I look forward to our next session. Thanks.